All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
In the heart of the night, where the shadows play, on the X Zone we gather, come what may, with Rob McConnell guiding us through the dark, searching for truth hidden, igniting the spark. Whispers of spirits, both gentle and bold, tales of the ancients in the stories retold. From haunted old houses to the echoing halls, we seek the unknown where mystery calls. On the X-Zone Radio, where the truth finds a way through the stories of ghosts that wander and sway, inviting the seekers, the wise and the brave. Join us each episode, let the curious say, with voices like a lamb.
And welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell, and for the next 2 hours, I am your host and your guide as together we will cross this time-space continuum to a place that I've been calling the X-Zone for over 35 years now. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And everyone has their own little X-Zone. And what we do here each night, between 10 and midnight, is try to talk to different people from around the world about what their X-Zone is and how their X-Zone interacts with everyone else's X-Zone to what we call the X-Zone Nation. We come to you Monday through Friday on the CanCom Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the AM dial at 1220 and streaming us at classic1220.ca. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, and on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. My guest this hour is Philip Humphries, and Philip is in Wisconsin. Philip, welcome back to the X-Zone. How are things in Wisconsin tonight?
Oh, they're stupendous. Yeah, it's weather's good, no rain, doing great.
Philip, tell us a little bit about yourself for the listeners who may not have heard you on the show before.
Certainly. Well, I'm a retired CIA officer. I was a senior officer, and I was an operational type. Went all around the world doing business for the agency. Prior to that, I was a career law enforcement officer, did undercover narcotics, the whole 9 yards, was a sergeant in uniform. Served in 2 branches of the military, U.S. Navy and the Army National Guard. I'm married, and I'm retired basically now and function as a wannabe actor and stand-up comedian and radio personality.
With what's going on in the world today as a former CIA officer, what common sense do you make out of what's going on with your president who seems not to know what he's doing, the problems with his self-chosen war in the war of Iran, the Strait of Hormuz, and my God, if I was to do a show on President Trump, I could be here for 16 years.
Yeah, it's I'm at a loss for what their game plan is. By their, I mean the administration.
Mm-hmm.
If, and without being able to see, the current intelligence, there's no way I know anything really. I'm just commenting. But if there was an imminent threat of a nuclear device being employed by the Iranian regime, you would think that once you started your operations against them, that you would finish the job.
Mm-hmm.
so that you've negated that. But for whatever reason, and this is what stupefies me, they stopped and they gave the Iranians the opportunity to screw with the Strait of Hormuz, to continue to launch, missiles and rockets and drones. So you got me, man. I am totally at a loss on that one.
I saw over the weekend that the Iranians have been able to dig out a large number of their missiles, their intercontinental ballistic missiles that the United States, well, I should say President Trump said that they had totally obliterated. And this doesn't make the United States look very good. Plus, I learned today that he also had a heated discussion or telephone call with President Netanyahu, who he blames for the mess that the United States is currently in. How do you think this is going to affect foreign affairs with Israel in the future?
I think Israel, when I was in the intelligence community, Israel was a partner. Now, every country has their own agenda. So there are really no friends in the intelligence business. There are just those who happen to share agendas. But Israel's always been a friendly entity, more or less, towards us. And they'll continue to be, I would think. Are they probably somewhat irritated by, the way that our White House is acting? Possibly. I don't know. It's like I said, I was stupefied by the whole way they went about it. I'm a World War II buff, and
Right.
Had we stopped at the border with Germany and said, "Okay, guys, let's talk," things probably wouldn't have worked out very well.
No, and when I saw all this peace talk and the United States stopped, and I figured, well, what a dumb thing to do, because all you're going to be doing is giving the Iranians a chance to rearm.
And that's all they want. They want time, and they're banking on the midterms having an impact on the administration's activities, and they need time to do exactly what you just said. Plus, all they really care about, they don't care about the Iranian people. They care about their survival of their regime.
Right.
And this facilitates that survival by giving them breathing space. Like I said, I'm no expert on international military affairs, but it certainly is confusing to me.
Explanation, our guest this hour is Philip Humphries. And Philip, do you have a website, or how can people find out more about you?
I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook under my name. I've got an old website that I don't use really anymore. Most of my activity is social media based, and I post regularly to the Facebook, to X, and to my LinkedIn accounts.
Tell me, do you think President Trump will actually release truthful UFO data to the general public, or is this just another way of distracting from the matters at hand?
That's a good question. I don't know who actually controls that sort of information. And what I mean is, I'm not quite sure that elected officials are in the driver's seat. And that, I'm not saying there's some cabal or, deep state that is running things, but I'm not sure that the person, whoever it is, that's in the Oval Office has carte blanche just to say, well, let's release all that stuff. I don't know. Plus, you've got to be careful, because we're not the only country involved in those matters. There's the Five Eyes, Great Britain, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, along with us. And all of our security apparatuses are involved. So that is truly a good question. I would like to think that if there has been a presence that's, whether it's interdimensional or extraterrestrial, that the people of the world would have a right to be aware of that, and that we would have a right to understand what parts of our history might be wrong. Um, but again, I also understand that, way back in the day, Orson Welles caused quite a panic with a radio show about alien invasion. So you'd have to be careful, what you
Hmm.
said and how you said it, so you don't cause societal turmoil.
But having the access to information, at such a high speed that we do today, 724, 365, you've got news coming out your ears. Um, do you think that there could actually be a way for the United States or any other country for that matter to hide this information from the public?
In my opinion, again, it's just my opinion, it would be incredibly difficult. Um, I personally don't know exactly how you do that,
Hmm.
because of the hundreds of thousands of people in the military and the FBI, the CIA, the DIA, the NSA, the CSIS, the RCMP, the British SIS and their security services, and so on and so forth. All these people, how do you keep their mouths shut, especially after they're retired and maybe they're on their deathbed, where they can say what they want? I find it difficult. I'm not saying that there aren't things that the public doesn't know, but
Hmm.
and that the government's incapable of keeping any type of a secret, because I think governments are capable of doing that. But this scale and this type of, of information, I I don't know how you do that. And I held a top secret, you know, clearance. I don't know how you do that.
Our guest this hour is Philip Humphries, Exonation, and we'll be back on the other side of the short break. But before we go, wouldn't it? I find it so amazing that if this information was being concealed by the government, whether it's our government, the Canadian government, the U.S. government, the Chinese government, or the Russian government, or any other government, it would be so easy today for somebody to hack into the government files like they've done before and expose the government that is holding this information, let the information out to the people of that nation, and wouldn't that cause a rift in the credibility of the government that has been exposed as withholding this information from their people? Food for thought.
Yep.
www.xzoneradiotv.com is our website, and if you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, and on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. The X Zone, Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. until midnight, right here on the CanCon Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM, streaming us at classic1220.ca.
Us through the dark, searching for truth hidden, igniting the spark. Whispers of spirits, both gentle and bold. Tales of the ancients in the stories retold. From haunted old houses to the echoing halls, we seek the unknown where mystery calls. On the X-Zone Radio, where the truth finds a way through the story. The storm clouds gather over freedom's sky. Questions fill the air while the years roll by. Voices grow louder from every side. A nation divided with nowhere to hide. The flag still waves, but the cracks run deep. Promises made that some could not keep. Friends become strangers, truth becomes a fight. And the world keeps watching through the long dark night. For red alert, can you hear the warning sirens cry? For red alert, can democracy survive? When power grows and accountability fades, who will stand when the future is away? For red alert, America standing at the crossroads tonight.
Explanation. Philip Humphries is our special guest this hour. And Philip, do you think that it would be possible for government contractors or government engineers to actually have a UFO or advanced technology from outer space, someplace, let's say Area 51, Skunk Works, wherever, and actually have used the craft that they may have or may not have, or they may have, to reverse engineer certain elements of our modern day technology?
I think that, there's a great capability in certain corners of the government contractors that contract with our defense and intelligence industries to maintain a good level of security. Whether or not they could hide something like that over decades, I don't know how you would keep everyone's mouth shut. I just don't know how you do that. I'm saying that like you, I'm an ex-cop. People talk,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the catch for me. I'm not saying that Skunk Works and some of our advanced research facilities don't have the ability to reverse engineer just about anything over, time.
Sure.
But the catch for me is it's how do you keep that quiet? How do you keep all those people? You can't shoot them all.
No.
So how do you do that? I don't know.
Plus, if they have extraterrestrial technology, don't you think that by now they'd be able to reverse engineer the propulsion system, that we wouldn't have to, use the old-fashioned rocket technology we have in order to get us, into close Earth orbit or even to the moon and back? And why would they have to wait so long to figure out how to get to Mars if they have this technology?
Right. I mean, if in fact they did have an anti-gravity capability, you would think they would use it. And again, being the cynic that I am, governments tend to use the weaponry they have, and it's never been used, to my knowledge, in warfare anyplace that I'm aware of. Maybe they treat it like the nuclear arsenal. It's not something that they'd want to employ unless it was, in the most horrid of situations. I still go back to how do you keep it quiet? I don't know how you keep all those mouths stilled. I just don't understand that. I mean, there's a reason CIA uses polygraphs and reinvestigation after reinvestigation throughout your careers to make sure that you're not breaching your security agreements. People are fallible, and I don't know how you do that.
If the CIA keeps on investigating their agents and their officers, how can they not detect whistleblowers?
Whistleblowers, there's a legal route for them within the agency, but unauthorized whistleblowers, the guy that just says, I'm not going to tell anyone anything, I'm just going to come out on media and announce it. those people are opening themselves to prosecution. And that would be the only way to avoid the agency knowing ahead of time. If you submit through the channels, they know what you
Mm-hmm.
want to do, and they're going to potentially stop you if it's going to do egregious damage to national security. But if you just walk out one day and go to the local news outlet or get on social media and start blabbing, there wouldn't be anything they could do other than have the FBI arrest you after the fact.
Does the CIA have any jurisdiction on the mainland of the United States?
They have agreements with FBI, and they belong to task forces like the JTTF, the Joint Terrorism Task Force, um, and in that way, they work in the U.S. But as a intelligence collection agency, they can't operate independently on domestically. That's the FBI's job.
It always baffled my imagination because I know that during the time of Kennedy, there was an a CIA operated office. I believe it was in the University of Miami, where they were doing recruiting, and they were also had offices in New Orleans that were known about. And once again, the CIA and the Bay of Pigs, and here we are looking at invading Cuba again under President Trump. Like, doesn't the same old story ever get old? And where does it end?
History repeats itself, I guess. Yeah, it's um, there's a charter for CIA that lays out its operational jurisdiction, if you will, and there's one for the FBI and so on.
Mm-hmm.
By meshing the agencies together, assigning them to work together, you can get around some of that domestic stuff, prohibitions against domestic operations. But um, as far as I was well aware that they recruited on college campuses, but to operate from those offices against American citizens without a special authorization and agreement with the FBI and the Department of Justice and so on and so
Mm-hmm.
forth. I've never heard of anything like that.
No,
Um, as far as the Cuban thing goes, your guess is as good as mine on how that might play out. Um, it's let's just say that it's a very interesting world we live in.
interesting, my friend, is not putting the right syllables or the right emphasis or however I'm trying to make that into a corny situation. It's just not working, so we'll skip it for now. It's a hell of a mess. Like, it's a hell of a mess, and what Trump is doing is not only affecting the people of the United States or the people of Iran, it's also affecting every other country. And how the hell he's allowed to get away with this, and why the people in Washington don't have the balls to do something about it, it just blows me away.
Well, none of the politicians are going to be doing things that could impact them on down the road. So if you go after, Trump, for instance, for whatever, and stymie his activities,
Mm-hmm.
or let's say you remove him from office, they can anticipate that could be done against them as well. I'm not a fan of politicians. I
Yeah.
never have been. I don't like them. I've never liked them at any level, local or national. I don't trust them. If they said it was dark out right now, I'd have to go to the window and look. I've always been that way. I'm not unpatriotic. I am a
Oh,
patriot.
sure.
But, I don't trust. The first thing you learn, as you know, being a cop, first thing you learn when you go to work for the government is you don't trust the government.
Yeah.
And government does what's best for government. And it doesn't matter here in the U.S., for example, whether it's Republican or Democrat. They're going to do what's best for them. And if that happens to be something good for the American people, well, that's just a side benefit.
I just can't believe how many millions and millions and millions of dollars are being spent in these races, the electoral races. Like, my God, you're paying to put your country into such a case where people aren't able to put food on their table. Kids don't have enough food to go to school for lunch. The price of gas is skyrocketed. My God, what the hell's going on? And of course, with what's going on in the Strait, with the oil prices, the world oil index, God, our prices here in Canada have gone up thanks to Mr. Trump. So,
yeah, it's no entity can be as absurd as the government.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm not a fan of politicians or politics. I was always, the boots on the ground guy, whether it was as a police officer, a soldier, a sailor, or an intelligence operator. I had very little regard for, political positions and the type of individuals that occupied most of them. I'm sure it's similar in Canada.
Yeah, of course.
Everywhere you go,
And it's always it's always the honest citizens that end up suffering for the politicians' stupidity.
Pretty much, and it's always the young 18-year-old soldier that has to shed his blood.
That's right.
For decisions made by politicians.
It's a cruel world out there. It's really cruel. Let me see. A quick question before we go to our break. Are you going to start carrying $250 bills around when they come out with President Trump's picture on them?
I don't think so. I seldom carry $100 bills. Yeah. So
that's right. You're honest.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, stand by, old friend. You and I have to take our break for the bottom of the hour. Exo Nation Philip Humphries is our special guest. And Philip and I will be back on the other side as we continue talking here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the CanCom Broadcast Network and on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, CFAJ AM, streaming us at classic1220.ca.
Gather over freedom's sky. Questions fill the air while the years roll by. Voices grow louder from every side. A nation divided with nowhere to hide. The flag still waves, but the cracks run deep. Promises made that some could not keep. Friends become strangers, truth becomes a fight. And the world keeps watching. Since 1990, through the dark of the night, one paper kept searching for the truth in the light, where others stayed silent, afraid of what they'd find. The X-Chronicles opened up the paranormal mind, from UFO sightings crossing midnight skies to alien encounters and government lies. Ghosts in the shadows, whispers from the dead, ancient gods and mysteries still left unread. The truth is out there, calling through the night, in the pages of the X-Chronicles, shining bright. From hauntings to disclosure, from science to the strange, exploring worlds and mysteries beyond the human range.
And welcome back. If you'd like to get a copy of the current edition of the X Chronicles, the June edition comes out in, I believe, 10 days, Craig? That's right. In 10 days, just go to www.xchronicles.net. That's XCHRONICLES.net. Just a little bit about our good friend down to the south, President Trump. I'm so happy to hear that a federal judge is making him take off the name Donald J. Trump off of the Kennedy Center. There you go. That's for the judge. And for the other judge who put a pause to the $1.87 billion slush fund that was for Trump and all the criminals that he was going to say, thank you for being my unpaid militia. Now you are my paid militia. There you go. That's for you as well. Now, any idea why he has to paint the what is it, the reflection pond blue? Any idea?
Not a clue. My only observation, and I respect the office of the president and my government, but my only observation is in today's politics, whether it's on the right or the left, it's just way too much crackpot theater.
Yeah.
And, when I was a kid growing up, you didn't see Eisenhower or Reagan or JFK, acting like buffoons.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's disturbing to me. And I'm not just speaking of Trump. I'm talking about, the whack job,
Sure.
Islamist, Marxist Democrats, and all the others that are out there waving their arms and ranting.
Mm-hmm.
Politics has just gone to hell in a handcart. And I'm, the more I see, the less I like it. And the more I'm inclined to just tune it out, which, of course, is not a good thing for a citizen of a free country to do. But, I don't like what I see in American politics. I don't know what it's like in Canada, but I don't like what I see here.
Do you think the world will ever get back to a place where it used to be, where all the countries, were kind of holding hands, singing "Kumbaya," and NATO was one of our strengths, and we didn't have to worry about Greenland being invaded or Cuba, for that matter. Who in the hell would have ever thought Venezuela would have been, invaded? The talk about the Panama Canal, the talk about Canada becoming the 51st state. My good God, doesn't he? What about running a country and taking care of the people?
Yeah, it's. I'm an old-fashioned guy.
Yeah.
And one thing that I adamantly believe, and I told you this the last time I was privileged to be on your show, that my dad landed on Omaha Beach on D-Day. And north of him, there were Canadian boys landing. And the West, us, Canada, Britain, Australia, New Zealand, and the West, if we don't stick together, there might come a day when we'll all regret that. And like I said, I'm an old-fashioned guy, and I don't know. Can the world find its way back to equilibrium? I certainly hope so.
What's your thought about the do you think the Vatican plays any part in all of this that's going on?
I don't know. I think that, when they choose a pope, that part of his duties, whether people like to admit it or not, are political. And, depending on where he falls on the political spectrum, will determine to some extent on how that individual acts. I have nothing against the Pope. What secrets the Vatican has, I'm sure there are some shockers that they've had secreted down in their vaults for ages. I think that they know a lot of things because they've been around for a long, long time. How much influence they have on modern nation states and their and political decisions, I wouldn't hazard to guess at that. I'm sure there's some, you know, because there's what, a billion or so of Catholics around the world, and
Yeah.
so that's kind of a powerful base there.
You know, I've never seen a president take on a pope before. You know, that was new.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm old fashioned and I'm accustomed to the more civilized and civil discourse of days gone by. And I know that's not in vogue anymore.
Yeah.
And name calling on social media and all these little arm waving tantrums from all sides is, uh, it's not good for anybody.
As a former police officer in the United States, there there's more activity with ICE. Is it in New Jersey this weekend?
Yes, Jersey, Newark, I think.
Right, right. How do you see that? You know, like
It
let me put my foot in my mouth first, okay? This way here you
Sure.
won't look so bad, no matter what you say. I think it's a shame where law enforcement is used to weaponize for any form of government. I personally believe that if somebody is an illegal alien, and I'm not talking about the ones from outer space, that they have the rights and they should be taken care of by any government that detains them until such a point where they are legally sent back to the country from which they originate from. And I mean, that means that they should be given food, medical attention, shelter, not treated like animals, not just jammed into pens, but given the same rights and respect as any other person detained would get. And when I see how those who have been deemed illegal immigrants, even though some have the proper authorizations, and none of them, according to the members of the Congress on both sides of the aisle, are what President Trump called. What did he call them? Jesus Murphy. No, he didn't call them Jesus Murphy. That's me saying that. Serious criminals. That's what he called them. Not there were many, but I'm talking about the ones that are presently incarcerated or being detained in New Jersey. Don't they have rights?
I believe in the rule of law, and that's the only thing that keeps um, democratic federal republics like the U.S.
Yeah.
alive is the Constitution and the law. So I believe in adherence to the law. So yes, I would agree with you. You don't mistreat prisoners, irrespective of what type of prisoner they are, whether they're a POW, a criminal that you've arrested that's a citizen, or a non-citizen that you've arrested for illegal entry. They all deserve the same, humane treatment.
And they all deserve their day in court.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I said, I believe in the law,
The
in
rule
the
of law,
judicial system. As you and I, we served it
Yeah.
in our careers.
I was taught at an early age that you always treat the person on the other side of the badge as you would want to be treated if you were in their shoes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that to me and you, that's common sense and common decency. As far as a lot of the rioters over there, many of them I think are paid, and they're out there with their own agendas and supporting the agendas of the people who pay them. And you're always going to have that. When I was growing up, they were doing similar things about the Vietnam War, and so on. So rioting is not new to me. But as far as what's going on at the ICE detention facility there, I just hope it can be resolved quickly because there's far greater concerns, um, that need to be addressed in the world today. Um, and that, I just hope that America remembers who it is.
Yeah, speaking about remembering, whatever happened to all the news coverage that was going on about Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy?
That was supplanted by rioting in New Jersey and UFO stuff and the Straits of Hormuz and the Iranians, and it just fell off the radar, which is unfortunate. I mean, given this length of time
Yeah,
while it's
exactly.
hot, it's unlikely that there will be a live rescue. It's not impossible, and if she is alive, I hope she is rescued. But I would hope that the family would find closure. But yeah, the media, they lost interest pretty quick and moved on to the next, story du jour.
Well, as you know, if it don't bleed, it don't lead.
That's right.
Stand by, my friend. You and I have to take our final break. And Exonation, our guest this hour is Philip Humphries. And if you'd like to find out more about Philip, he is on LinkedIn. He's also on Facebook. All you need to do is type in his name in the search engine at the top of each page, PhilipHumphrys. And we'll both be back on the other side. That's unless the Vatican has ticked off at me enough to send their hitman over. Craig, let me know if I get a call from the Pope. Tell them I'm not available like you usually do. And if the CIA come knocking, unless they've got a warrant, don't let them in. We'll be back on the other side of this break, so whatever you do, don't go away. I'm Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone on the CanCom Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220, CFAJ AM. And they stream us, Try that again. They stream us at classic1220.ca. Sorry about that, Peter.
Since 1990, through the dark of the night, one paper kept searching for the truth in the light, where others stayed silent, afraid of what they find. The X-Chronicles opened up the paranormal mind, from UFO sightings crossing midnight skies to alien encounters and government lies.
Somewhere out there, a light's gone dim. A chair sits empty, the world feels thin. A mother's voice that should be near is now just silence filled with fear. The days grow longer, the nights grow cold. Questions unanswered, prayers unfold. A family waits through endless pain, hoping to hold her once again. If you know something, if you see the truth, you can be the reason she comes home soon. Do the right thing, pick up the phone. No one deserves to be alone. $1 million won't replace the love that lives in Nancy's place. Her family's breaking every day, still believing, still they pray. You hold the key, don't look away. Do the right thing today. Savannah's world turned upside down, a living nightmare with no sound, no laughter where there once was light, just endless waiting every night. The police still search, they won't Do the right thing today. One call, one truth, one chance to care. Bring her home.
Exonation, June the 1st marks the 4-month anniversary since Nancy Guthrie was reported missing from her home in Catalina Font foothills area of Tucson, Arizona. Guthrie, the mother of the Today co-host Savannah Guthrie, was last seen at around 9:45 on January 31st, when a family member dropped her off after dinner. She was reported missing around noon the next day, when she didn't show up at a friend's house to watch a church service online. As always, Exxon Nation, anyone with information is encouraged to contact the Pima County Sheriff's Department tip line at 520-351-4900. That's 520-351-4900. Or the FBI tip line at 1-800-CALL-FBI. That's 1-800-CALL-FBI. And here in Canada, if you have any information, call up your local law enforcement agency or the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Horrible. It's just so horrible. I feel so sorry for the Guthrie family.
Yeah, it'd be a horrible, horrible ordeal to go through, and the not knowing would be, a daily horror.
Craig was telling me that we received an email from one of our listeners that this was from a show I did last week. They said, "Well, why do you guys talk about news? What about Bigfoot? What about UFOs? What about ghosts, guys?" Well, let me see. Because there hasn't been anything happening with ghosts, UFOs, or Bigfoot in 35 years that I've been doing this show. I want to believe. I really do. However, in my opinion, I think somebody missing for 4 months is newsworthy. I think that terrorism is newsworthy. I think that, the stupidity of politics is newsworthy. I think people being arrested and their rights violated is newsworthy. And as a member of the media, there are times, Exo Nation, when I think that in my heart of hearts and my crew here, that we say, okay, hold on. We'll get back to the UFOs. We'll get back to Bigfoot. We'll get back to Mothman. We'll get back to all the conspiracies and cover-ups that we talk about. However, there is more to life than sitting in a chair, going through page after page after page on the internet, classifying yourself as an expert in UFOs, Bigfoot, and everything else that we talk about here, that real people are having real problems with their lives, and they deserve a little bit of our attention. That's how I see it.
That's because you're a decent person.
Oh.
And back in the day, media was largely staffed by decent people that weren't overly partisan, that actually, believed in civility and human decency. So that's why that you like to do that, sir.
Oh, thank you very much for your kind comments. Another issue another survey that came out today is that more people are turning back to radio and breaking away from digital video because there's so much trash on it.
It's truly a sordid zoo, what's on the digital platforms nowadays. I love radio. I grew up with radio. I can still tell you the radio station that I listened to as a teenager.
Go for it. Which one?
WNAP in Indianapolis, the Buzzard.
Wow.
You know, it was a hard rock station,
Yeah.
and you know, radio is important because radio can be with you in your car.
Yep.
It can be with you on the bus. It can be with you in your office. It can be with you in the kitchen.
Yep.
I am a true believer in radio, and it'll be a sad day if it is diminished. Um, my opinion, of course, but
Oh, you know, and your opinion is shared with millions and millions and millions of people, and more people are turning back to AM, FM radio that are not only being broadcast live or on different platforms or even on the internet. It's being streamed. Then there are all these digital bebops who are getting themselves a computer and they think that they can run a radio station. Well, it just doesn't work like that. It really doesn't. Yeah, my favorite, well, when I was growing up, there was, let me see, CFCF 600 in Montreal. There was 980 CKGM in Montreal, 800 CJAD in Montreal, CFox in the West Island. And they were the radio stations that I listened to when I was a kid. Dave Boxer on CFCF, George Balkan on CJAD. I can't remember who. Pat Burns. He did a hell of a job as a talk show host on CKGM. You know, but that's when radio was radio. You know, you do you remember? I don't know if they did this when you were a kid, but the radio stations would send out little pins with their radio station logo and name on it, and if they saw you wearing your button, you'd win a prize. So whenever
you got to call in.
Yeah.
And you got to call in and request songs.
Yeah.
I mean, radio was an important part of growing up.
And I think it still should be.
It should.
I think we should.
I love radio. I'd rather do radio than anything else.
Well,
I mean, I audition for all kinds of crap, voiceovers and commercials and TV and motion pictures on a rare occasion. But radio, it's my favorite.
Ours too. This is why we're so proud to be on radio stations in Canada and the United States, especially up here in Ontario on your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ, where the X Zone, which was first called the X Chronicles radio show, started way back 30 some odd years ago when CFAJ was 1220 CHSC. So we've done a complete circle.
Yep.
And I'll tell you something, it's really great being back home on your hometown radio, Classic 1220. And they've got a great bunch of people over there. Peter Bordley, who is the GM over there, great guy to work with. And I don't know. Radio to me is where it is. And this is where we want to stay on radio. Hey, listen, Philip, by the time it's come when I must say so long to you. Thanks so much for sharing the nostalgia with me.
It is absolutely my pleasure to be your guest, sir.
All right, you take care of yourself. Look forward to the next time you join us. And X Zone Nation, if you'd like to find out more about my guest this hour, all you need to do is go to LinkedIn or Facebook and type in his name, Philip Humphries. That's it for this hour. I'll be back on the other side of the news and some commercials as the X Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the CanCom Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ, on your AM dial or digital radio. It's AM 1220, and they stream us around the world at classic1220.ca.
Since 1990, through the dark of the night.